Hi, I'm Emily from Scotland. Ever since I was a kid, I've been sure of two things. I'm adopted, and my parents are big, fat liars. Also, I think I know who my real mom is. But before I continue, please like and subscribe. My sisters and I are triplets, except Daisy and Rose have red hair, green eyes, and freckles, just like my parents. But I'm blonde and blue-eyed. I look nothing like my family. On our third birthday, when my parents invited all the neighbors, everyone was staring at me like I was some exotic zoo animal.
Wow, she looks like an angel. So different from her sisters.
She's gorgeous! Kinda makes up for the other two, eh? Just then, my sisters came charging at me with a ketchup bottle and squirted it all over my head. There, now you look more like us. I also discovered soon that my sisters were super dumb, so we couldn't be related. Once I told them if they buried their pocket money, a whole tree would come out, and they did! Months later, when they said their money wasn't growing, I burst out laughing, and they attacked me. You awful witch! I wish you were our sister! I'm not, you fools! I'm adopted! My parents looked like I'd slapped them.
Who taught you that word, Emily? Do you know what it means?
Mom, Dad, I read books, and I'm not stupid.
Stop reading rubbish. You're our daughter, and that's the truth.
But I wasn't buying it. I was always imagining who my real parents might be, and if they'd come for me someday. Someone rich and famous, I hoped. In the 7th grade, I was reading in the lounge one day when my sisters walked in with suitcases. You were right, Emily. You are adopted, and your real mom's here for you. What are you talking about? Haven't you seen the lady who's moved in next door? She looks exactly like you. So take your things and leave. I just ignored those morons. But suddenly, they grabbed me by my arms and legs and threw me out. I was banging furiously on the door when I heard someone behind me.
Oh, hello. I'm your new neighbor.
When I turned around, we both gasped. Oh my God! This woman did look like me! She was staring at me like I was a ghost. Suddenly, she turned and ran away. What just happened? I had to find out more about her. I tried spying on her with binoculars, but her curtains were always closed. One day, I baked some cookies and took them to her as a welcome present, but no one opened the door. As I was walking away, I saw her looking at me from a window. Was she avoiding me? One evening at the library, I was so lost in my book that I didn't realize it was so late. I started walking home, but as I went further, everything looked unfamiliar. I was feeling a bit lost and scared, when suddenly a toothless woman jumped out of an alley and grabbed my wrist. What a pretty girl you are! Just like me! Let's go home. Let go of me, you mad cow! That's no way to talk to your mother! Just then, an egg came flying out of nowhere and hit the woman in the eye. She yelled in pain, and I turned around to see my neighbor hitting her with more eggs. The crazy woman ran away, cursing us. I thanked my neighbor for saving me, and she said she'd take me home. As we were walking back, she suddenly spoke. I'm sorry I ran away that day. I was just a bit startled because you remind me of someone. I'm Gladys. Just then, Gladys saw the book in my hand, and it turned out she was a huge Shakespeare fan too. She invited me in for dinner, and we talked about books for hours. This woman could totally be my mom. The next night, I'd just fallen asleep when I woke up gasping as water hit my face. Wake up, sleeping moron! The neighbor's here to take you away. Wait, what? I ran downstairs and peeked into the study to find Mom screaming at Gladys.
Are you crazy? Emily is our daughter. We don't want you to talk to her. Just stay away from her, lady, or else. Now get out of my house.
Gladys ran out in tears, and I was stunned. What weren't they telling me? Could Gladys really be my mom? The next morning at breakfast, as Mom and Dad were acting completely normal, I snapped and pushed my cereal bowl off the table. Are you just gonna keep lying to me forever? Why was Gladys here last night? And what are you hiding? I already know I'm adopted. So why can't you just say it? Is she my mom?
You are not adopted! You listen to me, Emily. I don't know what that woman's been telling you, but she is crazy. You are not to go near her ever again. Understood?
I kicked my chair aside and stormed off. Gladys hadn't even told me anything, but I was surely gonna ask her now. That night, once everyone was asleep, I climbed out my window and landed softly below. The second I turned around, I screamed and fell back in fright. Mom was sitting on a lawn chair, trying to kill me with her cold stare.
If you don't stay away from Gladys, I'll tell the police she's dangerous and I'll get a restraining order. If you don't want me to do that, I suggest you climb back up that window right now.
I wasn't gonna argue with her. She looked like a psycho. I had no chance to meet Gladys because Mom was watching me like a hawk. But thankfully, summer break ended soon, and I could finally leave the house. My sisters and I had joined a new middle school, and as soon as we entered the building, Daisy and Rose suddenly pinned me against the wall. Just stay away from us here, okay? Don't tell anyone that we are related to you. I was about to spit at them when suddenly a bunch of boys surrounded us and pulled the two away.
Why are you tomato heads hurting the prettiest girl in the school? You want us to throw them in the trash, Goldilocks?
I told the boys to let them go this once, and my sisters gave me death stares as they stormed off. But these boys were just stuck to me like glue all day. They were offering to carry my bag, make my notes in class. At recess, I excused myself for the bathroom and sprinted off to the library instead. I needed some peace. As I walked in, I bumped straight into someone with a tall pile of books, and I saw who was behind them. Gladys?
Emily, what are you doing here?
It turned out she was the school librarian. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Listen, I really need to know what you and my parents...
No, Emily, stop. I can't talk to you. I think it's best if you stay away from me. I'm sorry.
And with that, she hurried away. Arr! I was losing my mind. But I wasn't giving up so easily. I went back the next day and walked up to her desk. I won't ask you any questions, I promise. But can we please just be friends again? I'll only talk about books. Gladys slowly smiled at me, and after that, we started hanging out every day. My dumb sisters would never set foot in a library, so I was safe. And I would slowly get closer to Gladys and the truth. One day she invited me to play, so I told Mom I'd be working on a science project with my group, and we spent an amazing evening together. Later at dinner, I told her about the shy boy Jonas in my class I wanted to ask out on Valentine's Day, and she smiled. Of course, you have to do with the Shakespeare sonnet. There's nothing more romantic. Thanks, Gladys. Later that night, I practiced the sonnet in my room. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more... Just then, Mom walked in and asked me what I was doing, and I told her I was working on asking out a boy.
With a freaking sonnet? Who needs Shakespeare when you have Taylor Swift? Just say to him, if you could see that I'm the one who understands you, been here all along, so why can't you see? You belong with me, you belong with me.
And she was doing dance moves that made me laugh so hard. Mom was funny.
Let's go shopping tomorrow, and I'll buy you a dress to knock this boy's socks off.
We did, and we had such a fun time together. I came home with bags of clothes and shoes, and my sisters' faces turned as red as their hair. I had to admit, I was enjoying this two moms thing. And, well, I did ask Jonas out simply by saying, "Want to go out with me?" And he said yes. That was easy. A few weeks later, I heard a loud tap on my window at night, and Jonas was standing outside. I let him in, and we started making out in the dark. Just then my door flung open, and someone came flying at us, knocking us down to the ground.
What are you trying to do now? Kidnap my daughter?
Mom, get off of him! It's just my boyfriend!
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I saw someone walking across the garden and I panicked. Come downstairs, boy. I'll give you a cookie.
But Jonas screamed like a little girl and ran out the window at lightning speed. I was so mad at Mom for scaring him off. When I told Gladys all about it the next day, she said, "Oh, you and Jonas can always come to my house whenever you want to, hang out." We took her up on the offer one evening, and she let us in through the back door. As we went to one of the rooms upstairs and started kissing, my eyes suddenly fell on a photo frame. It was Gladys with a toddler, who looked so much like me. Was it me? She gave me up when I was 2 or 3 years old? Why didn't I remember anything? Just then, I saw something much worse. The curtains were freaking open, and someone was staring right at us from my house. My stupid sisters! They grinned at me and ran off immediately. Oh no, no! Seconds later, I heard screams from downstairs. I ran downstairs to find Mom and Gladys rolling around on the ground, pulling each other's hair.
I told you to stay away from my daughter!
She's also my daughter! Why don't you let her decide? I think she likes me more. Just stop this, you guys! I need answers, now!
All you need to know is that I'm your mother.
No, I am! Oh my god! I need DNA tests from you both! And they both refused and started fighting again. This was ridiculous. I charged straight at them and I pulled a few hairs out of their heads. Ow! I'm getting the test done, and then I'll know. As I was running out the door, they both screamed.
Okay, I'm not your mother.
I turned around in shock. Now suddenly they both weren't my mothers? And finally, they started telling me the truth. My mom said that I was her sister's daughter.
We both had kids around the same time, but she fell really sick after giving birth to you,
and she made me swear that I never let you know you're not mine. And you are mine. Emily, you're my blood. My eyes swelled up when I found out my real mom was gone. And who are you, Gladys? Suddenly, she broke down into tears. I had a daughter who looked just like you, but she had an accident a few years ago, and when I met you, it felt like I had my baby back. I tried to stay away from you, but I couldn't. That night, I came to ask your parents if I could adopt you, and of course they refused. I just miss my daughters so much. As I looked at them both, I realized they'd both lost people they dearly loved, and I could make them both hurt a little less. I love you, Mom, and I'm sure you're as good as Mom as my own would have been. And Gladys, I love you too, and you can always think of me as your daughter. Well, now I finally know who my real mom is. And I've got two really amazing ones too. And turns out, I am related to my sisters. They're just my dumb cousins now.
Relaxing in a beautiful hotel in Paris with the cutest French boy smiling at you from across the pool is just perfectly splendid in every way. My personal assistant / best friend Lexi rushed towards me while holding a letter. She read it out loud. "Fancy a date on my yacht tonight? Meet me at 7 on the harbor." The boy across the pool winked at me. That night, I learned that his name was Pierre, and he treated me like a princess. But our splendid date was interrupted by a panicked call from Lexi. "Your dad's secretary called, and he's just sent the jet for us to leave right now." Ugh, he must have been mad because I'd been absent from school for a week now. I so didn't need school. I said my goodbyes to Pierre, who said he wanted to see me again, but I just smiled and left. Oh, hey there. My name is Blair, and I have an almost perfect life. I'm as smart as Einstein himself. There's only one little problem. I'm dyslexic. But it's no big deal because I have Lexi to read everything for me. I used to be #1 in literally everything, but things took a wild turn when a foreign exchange student joined our class. Please hit that subscribe button before I tell you my whole story. The next day, my limo dropped Lexi and me off at our school, a very expensive private one, where only families with a net worth of at least $1 billion can attend. "Blair, watch out!" I screamed when I saw an angry dog charging towards me. What was it doing here? Pets aren't allowed. Francesca, my arch nemesis, picked it up while laughing at me. "Good boy," she whispered, but I heard it. This insecure brat always found a way to ruin my day. "Oh, hey, Blair. I'm giving out our newest luxury product, this $1 million perfume, for free. I thought you might need one." "Thanks, Francesca, but I'd rather donate it to charity." The principal appeared and got angry when she saw her dog. "Our dog mansion with 10 floors is currently being renovated, so my baby needs to roll with me." Ugh, what a show-off. The principal shut her mouth when Francesca gave her a stupid perfume, too. In the middle of class, I suddenly forgot how to breathe when the most gorgeous boy that I'd ever seen walked in. "Everyone, I would like you all to meet Terrence, a foreign exchange student from Korea, and he will be with us for this school year." We were all speechless as we looked at him. Francesca immediately offered her seat, but Terrence just headed quietly to the back. Our math teacher then started the discussion and suddenly asked us to solve the area of a stadium on our tables. Such a no-brainer. The answer is, it's 69,963 square meters. We all turned to Terrence like we'd seen a ghost. He'd answered before me. Like, how? After class, all the girls flocked around him, including Lexi. I tried to smile at him too, but he didn't smile back. What a snob. I snatched Lexi away from him and told her to cut it out. "Do that again and I'll fire you." "Oh, come on, Blair. He's literally perfect. He's like Lee Min-ho." "He's not my type." Terrence might have heard that because he turned to me, but so what? He snubbed me, and first impressions last. Every year, our principal holds an auction party, and this year, all the proceeds would be going to poor children in Africa. The last item to be auctioned was a beautiful pearl with a special history. It cost around $50 million. As expected, Francesca and I started the bidding battle. 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. 1 billion. Then the principal asked if anyone wanted to go any higher. Lexi leaned closer to me and tried to stop me, but I couldn't let Francesca win. 2 billion. 10 billion. Silence filled the room when a male voice joined in and said, $100 billion. Everyone turned to the back. It was Terrence again. He really was something else. The principal declared, "Wow, that's a new record. Sold!" My eyebrows shot up when I saw Francesca offering him a handshake in a flirty way. Lexi said, "I think you two look better together." Ew, stop that, Lexi. He's a snob and only loves his phone. During our finals week, as usual, I took a special oral exam because of my reading condition. When the results came back the next day, the blood drained from my face when I didn't see my name at the top spot. It was Terrence. He hadn't even been in our school a full year. Then Francesca appeared from nowhere and said, "Just accept the fact that you're a loser now, Blair." I asked Lexi to do some research on Terrence. I needed to know what was up with him. He seemed like the love child of Einstein and Bill Gates. One day, while I was rushing to the toilet, I bumped into him and tripped over. Jeez. His chest was as hard as a tree. I looked up at him and met his cold, brown eyes. I was expecting him to offer his hand, but the jerk skipped past me like I was trash on the floor. I'd never felt so humiliated. It was the first time a guy had ignored me. Lexi came to the rescue and helped me to my feet. He helped me when I tripped out of my helicopter yesterday. Sorry, girl, but you're not his type. Francesca's comment made me furious. Thank God Lexi calmed me down, or else. During lunch, Lexi told me that she'd finally finished her research on Terrence. He was a young CEO in Korea, and his company develops games and software. That's why he's always on his phone. So, he's a self-made billionaire. Interesting. I was on my way to our campus's art center one time, and I stopped when I saw a board ahead. It had some words on it. Francesca and her friends were right behind me, but I didn't want to ask her for help, so I tried to read it myself. It seemed to be saying something about a vacation. I ignored the sign and continued walking. Suddenly, the ground under me collapsed. Someone caught me right on time before I was buried alive. I looked up to see my savior. It was Terrence. He let me go and dusted his uniform off. "Don't you know how to read? It says deep excavation ahead." I have dyslexia. Anyway, thanks for saving my life. Just be careful next time. My heartbeat was still going fast as I watched him walk away. A few days later, the principal announced the annual competition between private schools called the Battle of the Brains. I was so ecstatic when I was picked again to represent our school. I always aced it. The problem was the competition would be all about teamwork, so I needed a partner. And Terrence was picked. Lexi came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I ship you both. This is going to be fun." I ignored Lexi's stupid comment and told Terrence to meet me in the music room. We needed to talk about the competition. While I was waiting for him, I started playing the piano. I couldn't finish the song because I forgot the keys. Just in time, he arrived and continued for me. We were so close to each other and it felt really weird. I was about to move, but the way he played was hypnotizing. I flinched when I felt a spark as our fingers touched. He looked down at me after he finished playing. "That's how you do it. I don't need piano lessons right now. We need to plan a strategy. Just focus on the spelling. Memorize the letters of the longest words, and we'll be fine. Don't underestimate me, Terrence. How about you? Are you going to study?" The dummy answered me with a poker face and left the room. Sometimes I really hated his guts in his gorgeous face. And seriously, he was so confusing. The competition day finally came and we were totally silent during the ride. He later fell asleep on my shoulder and I went stiff as a board. Should I move my shoulder or should I let him sleep in peace? The limo passed over a rough road which woke him up. He looked up at me and I immediately looked away. "Can you, scoot over? You're in my personal space." My heartbeat went back to normal when he moved. I was so nervous during the game, but as expected, we made it to the final round. Terrence won the versus round against another boy, and then it was my turn. I needed to win this so we would be the winners already. I was shocked when the announcer said that it was a spelling round. Oh no. Spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Terrence gave me an encouraging look. I focused and wrote down all the letters according to my memory. I felt like passing out from nervousness when I slowly raised my answer. Correct. I jumped around in happiness and found myself hugging Terrence. When I realized what I was doing, I immediately pulled away. He then patted my head and smiled at me for the first time. And I must admit, he looked even more gorgeous. You did great. Well, thanks for your advice. Lexi showed up to congratulate us. Oh my gosh, you guys were so good. You two should get married already. Ugh, Lexi and her random fangirling. Terrence smiled at me in the hallway the next day, and it made me feel something in my stomach. What a miracle that he wasn't wearing his headphones and holding his phone in front of his face. Suddenly, the girls started screaming. I went to see what was happening and was shocked to see Pierre in our school uniform. He was showing everyone my pictures that he took on his phone. Oh, finally. There's my girl. Pierre immediately walked up to me and kissed me on the cheek. What are you doing here? I told you. I wanted to see you again. I enrolled in your school just to be with you. I didn't know what to say. Pierre kept following me around, and it bothered me. I wanted to turn him down, but I felt bad for breaking a nice guy's heart. Mademoiselle, come. I have a surprise for you. I told Pierre that I still had a class, but he grabbed my arm and was about to pull me outside when someone grabbed my other arm. It was Terrence. Come on, we're running late already. Everyone stopped in their tracks to watch. Terrence and Pierre were glaring at each other, and there I was, looking like a statue between them. Neither of them wanted to let me go, and it was so awkward. I caught Lexi's eye and gave her the signal to help me. She acted like she sprained her ankle and purposefully fell on Pierre. Lexi then winked at me as Pierre turned to help her. She was the best. I didn't know how to get rid of Pierre over the next few days. Terrence started avoiding me too. Once, when I went into class, Pierre winked at me and told me to come and sit next to him. I said, Pierre, I just want to be clear that you're not my boyfriend. Yet. That night, Francesca threw a party on her own private island and invited everyone. I didn't want to go, but Pierre was so persistent. During the party, he was telling me about his plan to buy a resort in Paris. He was talking nonstop while all I could think about was Terrence. I wished he was here. I signaled Lexi to start our plan. I excused myself to the restroom as she came over and I let her entertain Pierre. I sneaked out and found myself in a beautiful garden. While I was smelling some flowers, I suddenly felt someone's presence beside me. I turned to see Terrence. You're here. I didn't think you'd come. Francesca came over to my place yesterday and invited me. What? I wanted to ask him what else she did at his place, but I chickened out. He was looking up at the sky and suddenly a snowflake dropped on his forehead and he slowly closed his eyes. It was a beautiful moment, and I just found myself staring. It's the first snow of the year. Oh. Is it? He seemed to be so happy about it, and I wondered why. Where's your boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. I just met him in Paris last time I was there. I'm relieved. What do you mean? The snow continued falling over us. He stepped closer and suddenly kissed me on the forehead. I like you, Blair. I wasn't expecting that. My heartbeat was so loud I was shaking. Moments later, I finally gave in to my attraction. I think I like you too. Let's get out of here. I told him that only my dad had access to our helicopter, but he just gave me a smug smile and said, That's not a problem. Did he plan ahead or what? The helicopter flew us to a beautiful place, and while we were enjoying the marvelous view beneath us, I felt his hand holding mine. It gave me an electric feeling. I'd never felt this way before. After our helicopter date, he brought me to this Korean restaurant and made me taste their delicious specialties. We fought over the bill, and he won and paid for it. I then gave the waiter a tip, a key to a car. That's very generous of you, but I prefer giving tips like this. He gave the waiter a business card and told him that his secretary would assist him in enrolling in the school of his choice. Education is more important, Blair. Oh, he was wiser than I thought. It was almost midnight when we strolled in the park. When I complained about my high heels hurting my feet, he gave me a piggyback ride. This man had never failed to surprise me. We were inseparable over the next few weeks, while Lexi always ended up distracting Pierre. One day, Terrence was teaching me Korean when Lexi kept calling me. I was enjoying our session, so I ignored her calls. Later that day, I was on my way to my locker when I saw Francesca's dog again. It started chasing me and I ran into the nearest room. While I was catching my breath, I was surprised to see Pierre in there too. Bonjour, mademoiselle. Miss me? Before I could react, he suddenly kissed me. I was so shocked that I couldn't move. I slapped him and walked out to look for Lexi, but I couldn't find her anywhere. She wasn't answering my calls either. Where was she when I needed her? The next day, everyone was looking at me like I'd done something terrible, which I apparently did because an anonymous account had posted a picture of me kissing Pierre on Instagram. No, it was all a mistake. I asked Lexi about it, but she was so mad at me. What did I do? That pervert made a move on me. You weren't there when I needed you because you only care about Terrence now. Lexi, I'm so sorry. Please don't do this to me. You're my best friend. No, Blair, I'm just your personal assistant. Oh, not anymore, because I'm resigning. I was crying as she left me. I looked for Terrence and found him in the music room. Terrence, it's not what you think. Let me explain. I don't deal with cheaters. I tried to convince him, but my heart broke when he said, "Get lost, Blair. I don't want to see you again." I was totally miserable after that. My best friend and boyfriend were ignoring me, and everyone was calling me a cheater. One day, I passed out in my room because I hadn't eaten all day. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was Lexi. Thank God you finally woke up. You had me so worried. Are you okay? How can I be okay when you hate me now? Oh my God, stop. I'm not used to seeing you cry. Lexi then told me that she overheard Francesca and Pierre talking about their plan to set me up. I knew it. I need to talk to Terrence. She then looked away and said, "He went back to Korea this morning." What? Are you freaking serious? I felt like someone had thrown cold water on me. She just bowed her head and avoided my eyes. Why so soon? Is this a prank? I'm so sorry, Blair. I already told him the truth and he believed me, but he still left. No. This can't be happening. I tried to get up, but Lexi told me that my doctor had advised that I shouldn't leave bed yet. I called Terrence, but his phone wasn't on. I checked his social media accounts and confirmed that he was already back in Korea. I just wanted to sleep and hope that it was all a dream. The next day, I woke up to Lexi's scream. She pulled me out of bed and dragged me outside. There was an unfamiliar jet landing outside. A handsome boy then stepped out, and I swear, my heart jumped with joy when I realized who it was. I ran up to him and hugged him. He apologized for doubting me and for not telling me about him leaving. I just needed to finish my surprise for you. He then showed me an app on his phone. You can download this from the App Store. I've specially developed this for dyslexics. Oh my God, this is amazing. I love you, Terrence. I love you more, my Blair. I was so over the moon when he finally kissed me. Another cute Korean guy came out and Lexi looked like she just peed her pants. Terrence introduced him as Andrew, his brother, and Lexi started jumping in excitement. Thank God you have a brother. Terrence and I just laughed.